Welcome to the Gems of Google Earth, or Google Maps, where we explore some of the beautiful and fascinating images on our planet using Google Maps. Now, in this video, I'm going to be covering cool patterns or images. There's no geographic theme here. So, first off, we're going to start with a place that I can't really pronounce the authentic Maori or Maori name of, but it's located in New Zealand, and in English is called the Egmont National Park. I'm going to put up the indigenous name right up here so you can try pronouncing it yourself. I'm sure it sounds infinitely cooler than it sounds in English. This park was set up at the very beginning of the 20th century. It has a dormant stratovolcano that is surrounded by forested slopes. It only got its authentic indigenous name literally this year, like in the spring of this year. In many quote unquote settler colonial states, we have seen a trend in which many natural features have been renamed back to their original indigenous terminology rather than the Anglophone one that we're used to. This has occurred in numerous countries such as Australia, Canada, and the United States. New Zealand is no exception to this, and the slopes of this volcano are very New Zealandish, if you could call it that, with plenty of ferns. New Zealand is renowned for its ferns, and it's also renowned for its species of birds. Being so isolated throughout much of its history, New Zealand essentially became a utopia for birds. There aren't any native terrestrial mammals outside of a few rare bats, after all. And as a result of this, this has produced a very unique ecosystem that you can't find anywhere else in the world. But just outside of that ecosystem, you see a lot of farms. After all, New Zealand is renowned for its horticulture, that is, the agriculture of fruits and vegetables. Next on the list is Charles M. Russell National Wildlife Refuge. This was set up during the 1930s. It's located in the American state of Montana and is the second largest national refuge for wildlife in the contiguous United States. It's located in the state of Montana, which by and large tends to be sparsely populated, and is home to part of Yellowstone National Park. Now, while this area is not as famous as Yellowstone National Park, it does hold the Missouri River. Just looking at this image, you can see fractals as elements of the river jut out into the land. And from those inlets, you can see smaller inlets. It resembles fractals in a way, and you can look that up if you're interested in mathematics. Overall, much of this is due to the dry prairie and forested landscape surrounding these badlands, but it makes for a spectacular image from space. Next on the list also resembles fractals in a way, and those are the fjords of Norway. Now, fjords are essentially deep, narrow, elongated sea inlets or lake drainage systems with steep land on all three sides. This is by and large due to glacial erosion during the Ice Age, as the glacier's weight crushed the sediments beneath it and eventually melted. You had a lot of inlets from the ocean. This produces a lot of spectacular landscapes that can be found in much of the far northern hemisphere, wherever there are mountains, or even parts of the southern hemisphere. The country that is most famous for fjords is Norway, which is where the name fjord comes from. Next on the list is actually a building rather than a geological structure, but I found the area around it quite interesting. And that is the Church of the Nativity. It's the oldest continuously inhabited church in the world that is known to man. There may be ones that are older than it, but it's kind of hard to confirm. This, after all, is located in Bethlehem in the West Bank, which is oftentimes believed to be the birthplace of Jesus Christ. Whether or not it's true, we really don't know. What I find quite interesting about this is just the cityscape about this region. You tend to see these low elevated buildings along the hills of this area that by and large form a beautiful pattern. And regardless of its religious history or lack thereof, it truly is still a remarkable place. And speaking of buildings and patterns, let's move on to Barcelona's urban design. Now, Barcelona has a grid layout. This is quite atypical of European cities, which tend to be much more serpentine and more disorganized, as many of them date back to the Middle Ages. But Barcelona's design dates back to the mid 1800s and has a strict grid pattern with wide streets. But what makes the city so beautiful isn't just the massing of the building, but rather the ratio of the streets width to the height of the buildings. This creates a sort of cozy look and feel as you're walking through these streetscapes, and the widespread use of vegetation and ornamentation make it all the more beautiful. Next on the list is Amazon deforestation. Now, I mentioned Amazon deforestation in my previous video on the gems of Google Earth in South America, but I want to mention it again. You can take a look at some of these images and you'll notice that the deforestation doesn't usually involve widespread blobs, but rather long lines with rudimentary streets with large other lines jutting out perpendicular to those original lines with trees that have been cut down. When this is done in mass on a large scale, it produces these really bizarre images that are beautiful yet depressing at the same time. Next on the list is the empty quarter. And if you want to see a place that doesn't have too many trees, this is the place to be. This spans parts of Saudi Arabia, Oman, and the UAE. It is absolutely massive, composed of over 600,000 square kilometers. It is the largest contiguous set of sand dunes on the planet Earth, and that includes rivalry by the Sahara. You can see sand dunes here that are over 200 meters tall, and the heat is by and large incredibly high and it can get past the 50s Celsius, or if you're using freedom units, 130 Fahrenheit. Now, by and large, the area here is inhospitable, including to the original Bedouins who are native to this land, who by and large hug the coasts, as well as the numerous wildlife that by and large prefer not to live here. After all, there's barely any rainfall, extreme heat during the day, quite a lot of cold during the nighttime, and barely any water to feed enough vegetation, let alone the animals. Nonetheless, it is a place that you can see beautiful vistas, and there are even a handful of military bases sandwiched in between the sand dunes. Next on the list is the Great Barrier Reef. Now, we've all heard of the Great Barrier Reef, but most of the images you see of the Great Barrier Reef are underwater, but not too many people are familiar with how they look like from space. So here are some images. As you can see, the reef usually isn't one gigantic chunk, but rather a series of large pillars of coral and rock. The coral is made up of calcium from a coral polyp that uses algae to produce photosynthesis and thereby create a bunch of colors and a thriving ecosystem. Unfortunately, you can see some crushed pillars here and there, by and large due to coral bleaching, which is caused by higher temperatures, which result in the algae being removed and by and large having white coral instead of colorful coral. And white coral isn't really coral, it's just calcium at that point. Next on the list is also a marine scape, and these are the kelp forests off the coast of Monterey Bay in central California. Just 45 minutes south of San Francisco is Monterey Bay. This is home to the Monterey Bay Aquarium and many of the kelp forests off the coast. Now, unlike coral reefs, which by and large thrive in tropical waters, these kelp forests do the best in temperate waters. Their visibility is quite low, but they do harbor a great deal of wildlife, such as sea lions, sea otters, leopard sharks, and a number of other amazing species. The most important species here, other than the kelp, are the sea urchins that eat away the seaweed but also provide a great deal of nutrition for the other animals here. Last on the list is Wadi Bani Khalid, which is found in Oman. This is a wadi. A wadi is essentially a dried up riverbed, and they're quite common around much of the Middle East due to the arid climate. Here you had former rivers or temporary rivers that dry up during certain parts of the year, or at this point are pretty much just dried up. This creates an empty riverbed without much of the wildlife, but it can create incredible scenic scapes. Here you can see the patterns. After all, rivers move in turn. They don't stay in one place, they change over time. And as the weather dried up, you can see the effects not only of erosion due to water, but erosion due to the air, as the winds of this region pick up sediment and sand. And there you have it. Those are the gems of Google Maps slash Google Earth, patterns, and other satellite scapes. If you enjoyed watching this video, I'd recommend checking out some of my other videos or just give this video a downvote and leave. Thanks for watching.